Welcome, everyone. Yes, I am not an illusion or mirage. This is Reverend Chris, and I am back. I am back. Yes, I am so excited to be doing a video finally after this long hiatus. It's been months since I was supported in doing another video. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for myself. I'm excited for the information that I have to bring through. And I'm just excited in general. There is so much happening. And I have so much to tell you, such a series. I have a series of videos that I have been laying down and putting, I mean, it's like from here to infinity, right? I've got all of these things to tell you. So sit back, grab a cup of tea or your favorite beverage, and be prepared to hear the latest and greatest. Okay. And as you know, I'm not here to be a news agent and to tell you what's going on in the world, in the physical world that you can plainly see by sources that you of your choosing. I'm not here to analyze it in the physical plane. What I am here to do and to provide for you is that higher, right, 40,000 foot perspective on what is going on and why and what it's meant to accomplish for all of us by the time it's completed or whatever the current phase is. So today I came on because it's crunch time. This is, everybody's been saying for the last few years, all right, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Tired of waiting. When's it going to happen? It's happening. It's been happening incrementally, but right now for the last 4 or 5 days has been an extremely intense period of activity because it is crunch time. And what do I mean by crunch time? I mean it is time for us to fully move into our 5D persona and operating system. And we're going to talk about that today because there's a lot going on that you are experiencing. Now, some of you will talk about solar flares and sunspots and this happening energetically and this going on, planetarily and galactically. Yeah, all of those things come into play. And the divine uses all of those elements to its advantage. And so what is the divine using it for now? Aha. All right, so first off, I'm so tickled to just be here. It's like say, hello and welcome back to my tribe and all of you who have been waiting for me to do a new video. Trust me, I have been waiting just like you have and haven't got the go ahead before today. And I didn't even know I was going to get it today until I did some clearing this morning and I was aligning with what I had on my list of things to do. And something said, no, this is not it. We're going to do this today. And I was like, yes, good. Okay. So what's going on? As I said, the main, our operating system, the 5D operating system, right? We have been in the 5D timeline and environment and 5D New Earth for well over a year and a half, more than that. And it's like we have been living in a 5D soup, acclimating to the environment and the energies in it, and all that they are sponsoring to occur, right? Where, kind of like in that soup and the heat's been turned up gradually as we have been in this 5D soup. And as a result, of that is us becoming acclimated to that vibrational frequency, infused with it, living within it. We have been going through a lot of releases and healing at all levels and of all kinds. And I won't belabor the, what do you mean by healing? All of you that are listening to this that are my tribe know exactly what I'm talking about, because you've been actively working through this process for years. And we have gotten down to where it has just gotten more and more intense and deeper and deeper. And, you know, the most resistant issues are saved for last, because they have so many layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers before you can finally get to the core, the root. And if you look at what's going on today, look around you with what's going on with this, the mandates that are being put in place, and all that is being put in place to support and enforce them, and all that is happening with those who are submitting to them, willingly or not. Okay, we have to look at both ends of this. And you know what I'm talking about. This is something we've been living through for 20 months now, close to. And it's time for it to end. But what has to happen first? We have to be ready. How are we getting ready? How is the universe? How is the divine causing us to be ready right now? What is this last bastion of healing that we need to go through? Well, there's a couple of things. First off is we are being detached, literally just pulled away from all of the things of 3D that our ego minds are still gripping and holding on to and trying to attach to or gain meaning from, or information, you know, and the wounds and fears that have been embedded in us that are sponsoring this ego grip on these things. Don't want to let go of these bastions of 3D. But that's being pulled away from us, just pulled away from us. And you may be wondering, you know, well, how do I know this is happening? Well, the things that are being pulled away from us that our ego is mostly attached to, right? We have done ourselves the biggest part of the work, releasing our wounds and fears from all the past events of this lifetime, other lifetimes, you name it, ancestors, all of that. We've been doing that work for a long time. So there isn't that much of that left that the ego mind is attached to. However, it's still attached to all of the cultural biases of 3D, the tribal matrices of 3D, and the rules around them that literally sponsored our attachment to and the wounds and fears that we have cleared, that caused us to be connected to those things and caused the responses that made us miserable. I see that my recording button keeps on kind of blinking in and out. So if the recording is a little bit funky sound wise, that's why. I don't know why that's happening. It just happened again. So angels, please make sure that the sound recording on this is steady and secure. and continuous. And remove anything that would interfere with that, please. Thank you. Is this entity-wise something in the internet? Yeah, let's hold it steady. Shouldn't be internet because I'm not even really on the internet for this yet. Okay, so we'll deal with that later. Hopefully it's coming through well. All right. So let's get back to business here. So what's going on now? Our ego is being pulled away from all of these cultural influences, control mechanisms, tribal control mechanisms, you name it, whether it's everything that rules our culture and our interaction with it and in it. Our religious beliefs and rules, right? We have the religious matrix and the spirit of religion, which is a very controlling spirit. We're trying to let go of that. And there are many in the evangelical community who recognize this, and they're trying to pull away from that. And they recognize the spirit of religion that is a controlling one and isn't about connecting with God and Jesus or any of, to connect with God, period. That's not what the spirit of religion is about. The spirit of religion is about control. The spirit of connecting with God is about freedom. Big difference there. So there is that. All right. Then we have the educational complex. We have finance. We have health and well-being. We have our social structures. I could go on and on. All the things that comprise our culture. And all of the unwritten rules, some which are written, that govern our behavior, interaction, and beliefs around it. And those things we're being challenged to let go of that exist in the 3D environment that serve us not in 5D. And trust me, there is a ton of stuff in 5D that is totally incompatible with cultural paradigms of the 3D. And we have a big learning curve coming. It's already starting. We're starting to recognize that when this all falls down, when it all crumbles, and we're sitting here looking at the mess that we can see it becoming, that boy, do we have a lot of work in order to rebuild it in a way that it doesn't happen again. We cannot rebuild on the old 3D foundation. Just can't do it. We have to start from fresh with a new perspective and a new paradigm. Okay. So right now all of that is being pulled away. Our ego minds are being pulled away and detached from that. And how can you know that this is happening? Well, in the last 4 or 5 days, you may have experienced different pains and aches and symptoms, maybe tightness in your body on the right side. The right side is the one connected to all of the cultural things. All of that. The left side is the one that's connected to all of the events that we have experienced. That is our history on the left-hand side. And we're all, and how we deal with that. So if you have been feeling and noticing aches and pains and stiffness in areas of your body that are on the right side over the last few days, and you haven't really thought about them, you just sort of noticed them and said, oh, that's weird, or that's new, or what's that about, and just went on. They aren't, for the most part, severe. At least in my case, they weren't. What did I experience? I experienced, it was this energy that was kind of an ache and maybe almost a tingle running from, my elbow all the way down through this area of my hand and to my little finger. This area, that's what I noticed. And I also noticed a similar energy running down my right leg from my hip outside of the leg, the outside of the leg, down to and including my pinky toe, the last couple of toes on my foot. And I first noticed this and became curious about it because I went to flex my foot. You kind of flex your toes and let them stretch out and all. And when I did that, they were stiff. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is that happening? So I did it again. The other foot was fine. Left foot was fine. So I went and do the other one. I noticed that those toes on that side of the foot was stiff. And of course, me, the way I operate, I don't just say, oh, that's weird and move on. I say, okay, team, why is that happening? And that's when I was shown what was the causal factor here. Now that's still in play for most of us. And I will still, if I begin to engage in these activities supported by those 3D paradigms that no longer serve us, and trust me, social media, being on the internet is one of those things, depending on what our mindset is when we get in there and our beliefs. And also playing video games on our phone. The game matrix is majorly connected to 3D paradigms and control paradigms and mechanisms. Because regardless of what games you're playing, most of them are shaping our thought processes based on the choices that they give us in the game. And the idea that we only have those choices to make. And I could go on with this, but my team, every time I go online to play solitaire, they're like, no, stop it. Because it's connecting to all of that. And the programming is coming through in the games and the collective, right, of all the people that play that game that you are connected to through that game on the other side. That's a huge issue. So I'm not telling you to stop playing games. I'm just saying this is what I'm given. Does it stop me from playing games? No. And I get yelled at every time, and I wind up trying to shield myself, disconnect, etc. But at some point in time, I can literally feel that all of that is breaking through, and it's not good. So I need to get better about that. So that's one of the things that's going on right now, is this separating the ego mind out from all of these things that has just been, holding on to. Why is the ego mind so resistant to this? Well, because it's got nothing to take its place. Our minds are built on collections of data and information. And the cultural data and information and paradigms of 3D is all that our minds have to grab onto, to know, to respond with, to understand, to extrapolate from. That in addition to our own personal databases, right, of our own experiences. Because what does the ego do? What is its process? The ego mind takes what it already knows, looks at the information coming to it in real time, and extrapolates and postulates and predicts what's coming, what may happen. If a certain situation caused something to happen in the past, the ego mind is going to tell you, whoops, this is getting ready to happen. Whether it is or isn't, that's what the ego's program is going to tell you. Now, being separated from those 3D elements the 3D paradigm, the ego has less and less information to make those predictions from, to extrapolate the future from, or the possibilities and probabilities, right? Because the ego doesn't know when it says, okay, this happened before, when the ego is just absolutely sure that it's absolutely happening again. Doesn't know, can't tell that it isn't, or, it's kind of like, the Olympic athletes, when they train and they do, in their mind, they do mental exercises all the time about running their races or doing, whatever it is that they're doing, their event, being doing the high jump or the gymnastics or playing basketball or tennis or whatever it is. They're constantly they're running through their mind scenarios about playing the game, doing their event, being successful at it. And they are running through and they're doing everything, and they're, boom, they're doing this over and over and over again. And the mind doesn't understand that it's not really happening, because if it's in the mind, the ego thinks it's happening. It's real. Weird, huh? But that's the way it is. It's just the way it is. So you might be thinking about that when you're got thoughts running through your mind. And it's like the ego thinks that this stuff is real. Maybe it is, because truth be told, you are manifesting stuff as you're thinking about it. That's another conversation. All right, so here we are separating out. The ego has no basis to replace what is being separated from. There is nothing that our ego minds can grab onto to do what it's programmed to do. So right now, you are probably feeling a lot of, and I put this up on Facebook yesterday because it just came to me, is some of you that are old enough may remember in the 80s, there was a TV show called Max Headroom. And it was really the first CGI character that we were shown. And he was a regular character on this TV show. But he was only accessible, of course, through the computer and the computer screen. And periodically, the screen and the electronics would glitch, and he would just be going, right? Max Headroom, that would be him kind of glitching out until everything straightened out and he would come back. Well, that's the best approximation that I can give to you of what's happening in our energy fields right now and with our mind. Our ego and subconscious and the medulla oblongata, where the autonomic program is, a lot of that autonomic program is based on that 3D paradigm as well. So it isn't just autonomic program for our body functions. There are other things that get embedded in that part of our brain to create automatic responses. And our ego is responsible for implanting a lot of those things. That's why you have these responses without having a thought associated with it, because it's like, boom, wait a minute. What am I afraid of? What am I angry at? What's going on here? You've all had it and you know what I'm talking about, but the ego no longer has that database and is in the process of being deprived of that database. So you may be feeling a little glitchy. So that's, and just the more you resist it, the worse it's going to be. When you start feeling glitchy is probably the best term that I can give for this, glitchy. When you start feeling that way, just say, oh yeah, that's it. And just send peace, choose peace, infuse yourself with peace. This too will pass. Just remember that because your mind is in such a state of almost a nervous breakdown, because it just doesn't know what to do. It's like running the same program over and over and over again, looking for something different to happen. You are going to have to be careful with your access to divine source and maintaining that. It's a tough process right now. It also is glitchy. So be mindful of that when you are trying to access these things for your own use. What I will tell you is if you are a healer and you are, or somebody who works with clients using your spiritual gifts in some way in those sessions, you are always protected and connected when you are in session with a client. The state of your energy fields will never be allowed to interfere with your service to others. So just take heart with that. Okay. Just got big confirmation. You saw me shaking. It was a big confirmation from my team. Yes, it's always, and I can tell you I have talked to a number of healers who have told me that themselves too. Is they can be totally jumbled up and not know up from down or left from right or in from out, totally disconnected and miserable, cold, whatever they've got going on too. And they get into a client session and all of that disappears. Whoosh, and they are doing great. They feel great. They're dealing with the client. Soon as the session is done and they have settled down from it and released that session, there they are, back in the soup again. So trust that that's the way it works for those of you who are dealing with other people in some spiritual capacity, in energetic capacity, in service. So that's what's going on in that part of the arena. This is also connected to something else, the bigger picture. And this is what we are seeing playing out in the world around us. As I started this segment by talking about the mandates and the power and the force being put in place, and the surrender and the victimhood and the submission. What do these things remind you of? What are we seeing play out? What is coming up to be healed here? Big time, planet-wide, and especially here in the US, because we are the linchpin for the world. Big yes on that too. We are the linchpin. What happens here goes out throughout the planet. What you see happening right now is a necessary healing of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. The wounded divine feminine, right, is just historically through all of the human history for I don't know how many thousands of years, right? The human divine feminine has been made to be fully submissive, to surrender, to be the victim, to be powerless. That is the divine feminine experience and corruption and wounding that is coming up. If you remember when there was Brett Kavanaugh's hearing for the Supreme Court and all of the craziness and just the dark circus that took place around that was everything that came out about that and was published and put out was deliberately targeting the wounded divine feminine for everybody to rise up in an uproar, because it was like everything that was done because it was like putting hot pokers on wounds that already exist. What wasn't expected is that once those wounds had been come up and released, once all of that was out there, then it wasn't as vulnerable anymore to that kind of tweaking and hot coals and pokers. It just wasn't as inflamed anymore because all of that had been released. Doesn't mean it doesn't still exist. It does. But it was damped back to a place where it wasn't as prevalent. The other side of this is the divine masculine. So divine masculine, the inflamed divine masculine. What do I mean by inflamed? It is exhibiting parts of the divine masculine paradigm out of balance to the rest of its parts. And what is it exhibiting here? It's the other end of the scale, the seesaw from the divine feminine. This is about power and force and power over people and force and control, mandating stuff and rules, compliance. That's what's going on the divine masculine side. You can see it. Look around you. If you start looking with that mindset, you will be seeing that everywhere. So what? So what is that we are, as we come online with our 5D operating system programming, which is also part of what's happening right now. We're coming online. That's being initiated and being put in place and turned on. All right, the programs have been installed in there for a while, but now they're getting ready to just turn on the whole system. You just say, hello, you're now a 5D person, and these are the parameters and paradigms that you're going to live with. Big yes on that from my team too. Holy Spirit is big here saying, yep, absolutely. But first, we have to realize that the 5D and better vibrational environment turns on a level of alchemical ability and spiritual and divine manifestation that we have never experienced before, because the lower vibrational energies kind of put a damper on that, suppressed it. But now, and the other thing that we have to realize is that, as the angels gave me this as an example, right? When there is new life created, it takes a male and a female part, sperm and the egg or something, similar, to create that life. Equal parts. I know some of you are going to give me stuff about androgynous recreation or recreation. There are still equal parts that have to be put together. And in order for the manifestation to be fully balanced, to be what it is meant to be without being corrupted in some way. And that's what we need now. We need divine feminine and divine masculine in balance so that we can move into a state of balanced manifestation, conscious creation, We've been moving toward that since The Secret came out in 2006, 15 years ago, almost 15 years ago to this time of year. Because I remember it came out initially in the beginning of September, 15 years ago, 2006. That's when I saw it. But we have been, guided toward the whole idea of conscious creation, being aware of what it is we're creating, and being aware of what we don't want to create as well. But we need balance. And we need to be balanced in both the feminine and masculine aspects, not just for the manifestation that we're here to do, but so that we can move forward in Christ consciousness. And for those of you who may not be of the Christian persuasion, and although I am christened, baptized, confirmed, all of that stuff in a Christian religion, I will not call myself a Christian because of the negative, controlling religious spirit that's been attached to that. I'm a follower of the Christic path. Okay? Devotee of the Christed consciousness and divine love and all that that brings to us. That's what we're moving into. And we have to be balanced, and we have to clear away all of these wounds and inflammations of these aspects of our beings in order to fully be able to process Christ consciousness. Otherwise, it just won't make sense. It won't work. We can't operate or function in that domain. When we are balanced, we have respect for each other. Can you see how this is playing out? We see people submitting to mandates. Okay, but we also see plenty of people who are not. They are exerting, their power. They're walking away from the wounds and saying, I'm sorry, no. I know that this is not right for me, and I am not submitting to it. On the other side of it, you have enforcement agents and agencies and companies that are saying, no, I'm not going to do this. This is over the top. It's too much. I am not signing up to exert this much power and force over other people for no good reason. This is not what my power is meant to be used for, and I will not use it that way. You see how this is happening? And and I will not have my power used this way by anything else and anyone else. This is happening, and this has to happen. This is exactly what needed to happen. Is people need to say enough. Had it up to here with this? No. I'm telling you what's going on. You're not telling me what I'm supposed to do. Not happening. Not anymore. I have the brain that God gave me. I have the intuitive knowing and connection to divine source that's saying this has to stop. And that is spreading. You will see it more and more and more and more. That is the healing of the divine feminine and divine masculine, the restoration of the intended divine paradigm for each of those aspects of our being. That is the biggest part of what you're seeing going on right now, is that healing taking place. And once we have that healing, we see that we have a more balanced respect for each other, greater desire to listen to each other, to support each other, regardless of our belief systems, as it once was in this country a few decades ago. And we got convinced that it was otherwise by a bunch of shysters with loud mouths and speaking for the Leviathan spirit, who wanted nothing more than power and control and to exercise that inflamed divine masculine. War and conquest and control. Am I totally against war? No, there are times when we have to exercise our right to survive. And that's all I'll say. But there are times when we are not exercising our right to survive, we're exercising the military-industrial complex desire to survive, just as right now we are supporting the big pharma industrial complex to not just survive, but to grow and to overpower us. They have their hooks in everything. It's all about money. For all of these people that are still attached to this 3D paradigm, money is power. In the 5D paradigm, not so much. Money is a tool in the 3D paradigm. Money is not power and won't be used as a tool of power. That's what has to be left behind. And it's what so many of us are struggling with right now, because even though we have seen the light, we've awakened, we are still working in that paradigm, thinking that things have to be arranged according to that paradigm. No, that's not going to happen. So this is what is happening and why it is happening and what it's leading to. For each one of us to be a wholly, fully present 5D or better human on a new planet with a whole heck of a lot of work to do to reconstruct, rebuild, and restore the foundations of freedom that we're meant to have. Big yes right now. My team is just like, ooh, all over the place. That is what's happening. So as you look around the world and as you engage continuously in your divine connection of the one true God, and let me just say that there is a lot of false God corruption being introduced right now. And I want you to close your eyes for a minute, and I want to connect you all with the one true God and his light and his force and his presence within you. Almighty and Most High, Father, Mother God, the one true God of all that is, was, and ever shall be, the Alpha and the Omega, the source and destination, light of the great central sun, the one before whom there was no other, the light and the presence that fills and instructs my soul, animates my body, and lives within me. And in whom I exist. Help me, Heavenly Father, to attune and align all who are listening to this broadcast and come here to hear the words you have given me to say, to be fully aligned with your presence and none other, and for their spiritual and divine vocabulary to be reset and restored to truth. So that when they pray unto you, dear God, that is their intent. You is who will be, they will connect with, and not anything other of deceit. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for living within us and surrounding us with your divine presence, light, truth, love, creative energies, and purification and healing. Thank you for filling us with peace and bringing us to the place of freedom, that our souls can fully be free, and so that we can operate in this world, in this physical plane, in that place of freedom to create for ourselves and with you, and not for the evil overlords that have used us for so long. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this gracious gift, for your mercy and grace and hand of divine favor upon all of us at all times. And so it is. There, that should have recalibrated your connection to divine source and assist you in moving forward and getting the guidance and insights and intuitive knowings, and psychic receiving and messaging that is meant for you to receive and that you seek in truth and light. So we will end here, beloved ones. It is so good being back. I am just thrilled to do this. Absolutely thrilled. It's crunch time, team. We are almost there, regardless of what it seems like. Remember, everything has to come crashing down before it can be cleared away and rebuilt. So stick with it, bear with it, stay connected, and stay disconnected from the mess. Stop looking for more information all the time. Stop being a mind hound, right? The mind is the place of ego. And as long as we continue to seek our information there, for the most part, and not from divine sources, we are subject to the control we are trying to break away from. So blessings to all of you in light and love. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for bearing with me over this long hiatus. I am yeah, I think that's it for now. Blessings on you. Thank you.